record the meeting and make it available to the public. So welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to this Diversity Advisory Board Beaverton Night Market Planning Subcommittee meeting. That wasn't the longest title ever. It's nice to see you all, and thanks for the quick turnaround on this meeting. One of the first things I would love to do is to talk about the rest of the meeting dates for the season, or the ones that we can plan on, and check those dates with you all so that I'm not asking you for a last minute meeting unless it's absolutely necessary. So, but thanks again for your flexibility for that. I'm gonna actually, right before I do that, I'm gonna put the agenda in the chat there. So the first thing is just, yeah, welcome and future meeting dates. And so I wanted to check in with you all. I think we've gotten a sense at this point of what time maybe works best, but wanted to check with you on that as well. But we usually have just one meeting per month, unless something big comes up like it did with the location conversation last time. So what I was looking at for next dates would be May the 3rd. I'll put these in the chat too. May the 3rd or the 17th. That's a question for you about which one of those would be best. June 7th, which needs to be a longer meeting, probably a 2-hour meeting, because this will be our vendor selection meeting. July 19th, and then August 2nd. So I guess the starting proposal would be, well, with the exception of the May, we need to say, does anybody have a preference between those May dates? Do the dates work? And then I think we're thinking about, we've had meetings at either 5 or 5:30 that seem to work for this group. So let me know what you think.
May 3rd.
Excuse me, do we have to decide on, I mean, these are all the meetings we're going to have, am I right?
All the kind of core ones that we're gonna have, yeah.
Yeah, and so we have to respond right now, or we have?
I would like us to try to lock it down now, just so I can send you all calendar invites and we just have it further in advance.
Okay, I step away for 1 second to grab my planner, okay?
Sounds good. Monica, Shara, Ahmed, do you have any preference on that? Hiral says May 3rd is better.
For me, all days and all time, it's gonna work. I don't have anything these days, so yeah, I'm good with it.
Same here. The only times that I have is Tuesday or Wednesday, but in the mornings, not in the evenings. So anytime, any day you guys schedule is good for me.
I'm good too. So just sometimes, like on Monday, I have back meeting, the parents advisory council with Washington County for early learning, but sometimes like I can adjust that. So I think that's what works with me.
Great, thank you. Manijeh, any conflict with those dates? And real quick, for everyone, preference between 5 or 5:30, or you're okay either way?
Either way for me.
Either is fine, yeah.
5 is great.
5:30 for me. That's
they
okay.
all work
Right.
well for me, except which one did you say? It's the June 7th is 2 hours, so it's 5 to 7. Okay.
Except Ahmed just asked for 5:30, so.
Yeah, because like, you know, like we will back to school and we will be working, and this will be Ramadan months on May and April. So at least we will get rest a little bit. So when I come to the meeting, I will be refreshed, will not be exhausted.
All right, great. Well, thank you. So we'll go with May 3rd, June 7th, July 19th, and August 2nd at 5:30 p.m. That's just to say we sometimes have a meeting at the very end at some point that's like a debrief and like, you know, whatever kind of meeting. I kind of like to wait to schedule that one just to see kind of where the group is at and if we want to combine it with the celebration and all that. So that's the only one that's not on here, and we could either decide to do that by email because we're tired of meeting, or we could decide to get back together because we want to celebrate or whatever. So that one's not on here, but otherwise we'll stick with these dates. And most of the meetings, I plan to just try to stick to an hour and 15 minutes as best as we can, except for that June meeting, which we know we're going to need more time for vendor selection. So I'll send you some calendar invites, but that's great. Thanks for getting through that part. So the next piece on here is public comment, and it looks like we have a couple of visitors today, which is great. So welcome. And if you would like to unmute yourself and introduce yourself and say a word of whatever you'd like to share, or maybe about your interest here today. Go ahead, Zachary.
Hi, I work for the Beaverton Downtown Association, and this was just on the government website. This was one of the committees that I was interested in just kind of watching and seeing what was going on with. So I'm just here to learn and listen.
That's great. Thanks for joining us. Are you a business owner, or you work for the BDA? You work with Kevin?
Yeah, I'm a urban planning graduate student, and I'm working for the BDA.
Great. All right, and then Janice, or that's how you're appearing on the screen. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Janice. I'm just an interested citizen, and I'm like Zachary Mettler, just wanted to see what's going on.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Well, then we will move on to our planning logistical topics. So the first thing I wanted to share back with you all is just a little update, brief update about how our research is going in terms of the location choice. So we've been spending the last couple of weeks trying to connect with business owners in the area, mostly of downtown, because the option 3, we've communicated with the Beaverton Christian Church, and they are okay with us using the parking lot. So that coordination doesn't take as much. We will, of course, if we were to choose that option, we would have to notify residents and stuff around that, but that's not, that wasn't within the scope of what we were going to do initially to choose between the 3 sites. So we focused mostly on the downtown sites and doing outreach to some of the key businesses that are right up against those sites. And definitely huge shout out to Kevin with the BDA, who's been helping with that research, and also Rachel Teamy and Megan Bronston at the city, who've been also reaching out to some of the people that they have close contacts with downtown. I would say we have a whole spreadsheet of, and we're starting to gather all the contact information in the right place and the feedback from them. And I would say that overwhelmingly, it's been really positive so far. There haven't been any like, I really don't want to do this, or, oh, please don't shut down my street, or this sounds like a, something that, there haven't been anybody that has expressed opposition to it. Everybody's been really interested. A few people have had some concerns around either parking at their particular business or in the area, and just kind of helping to strategize around that in their area, or wanting to know how, like in what way they directly at their site would be impacted or could participate, things like that. But mostly they've said this sounds like a great opportunity, or we've always been, good partners on city events. We're happy to do that this time. Just please keep us in the loop. And I think we have heard I have definitely noticed some preference for Friday, Saturday event instead of Saturday, Sunday. That was one of the things that we asked as well, knowing that some businesses are closed on some of those days, and would that matter? What I've noticed is that people who are more familiar with the event are excited. If they have a storefront, they're excited to actually be open on the day that the market is there, as opposed to wanting to offset it. And people who are pretty new to knowing the event, they just kind of want to avoid their open business time. So, but again, I would say that most, like 9 out of 10 people that we've asked that question, they have said Friday, Saturday seems better. It will probably bring some business to them as well. And Sunday seems like a sleepy day, and so better to go with Friday, Saturday. So wanted to share that. I think, trying to remember, I think there was one other piece of kind of trend that I had seen there, but I think we've asked a little bit about some of the parking lots and things like that we would need in order to do, the eating area and stage and also the kind of just the infrastructure of the market kind of areas. And mostly there has been quite a bit of openness as long as we make arrangements and are communicating a lot ahead of time and all of that. So, so my hope is that we get to finish that research and make a decision this week. What I see when I look back at the notes from our conversation last time the subcommittee met, it certainly wasn't like a clear cut. You all were all in unison about the decision. But I do see I would say that I see some preference for option 2. But I wanted to kind of check back in with you all about that because one obvious winner has not emerged. So I'm just going to share my screen and look at those notes again. I sent the minutes to you all, but as we look at the chart of when you all were, when we made you make a choice, rank them 1, 2, 3. What I see is that that there were more people that scored number 2 as their top choice. But there's lots of different ways to interpret this chart, right? So just wanted to look back at that with you all and say that that's what I'm seeing. And also open it back up and see if any of you have had additional thoughts that we should consider at this point. I don't know if you've had a chance to go to the different sites or to think more about this, but if there's anything additional you want to share about the location consideration at this point. And if not, that's okay, we'll keep moving.
Yeah, I mean, I drove by downtown a couple of times, and I mean, I think doing on the street with location 1 and 2 would be tough, but again, I haven't attended previous events. But yeah, just wanted to say that I still think that location 3 would be more convenient.
Thanks. Anybody else have additional thoughts at this point? And or interpret that chart differently than I did?
Did he say option 3? It was more convenient?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure that because I think, oh, okay.
All right, well, I'll let you know if we hear anything else definitive this week. I would say that looking at this and from the feedback we've gotten so far, I'm sort of leaning towards option 2 on a Friday, Saturday combo, but you know, there's a few key people we haven't talked to yet. So we'll see what we hear and we will keep y'all updated.
And we didn't need Jody to be here to also give some input.
I forgot to mention, Jody is on her way back from her family trip, so she's not able to be here tonight. But we've been in communication, and that is one of the reasons actually why I didn't want to make a decision quite yet, because we have a few more people to hear from, and because it feels weird to make that without her. So yeah, so we'll keep. She gets back later tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So the next thing I wanted to just share with you all is that I think I might have mentioned briefly, but we are planning on, we got approval to use the submittable platform again for vendor applications. So we are preparing the application for this year and we're planning to release it from April 15th through June 1st. So it's about a 6-week period. That's a little bit shorter than we do other years, but it's still, you know, it's a 6-week window. And so I think, so all of you, I think, except for Hiral, have used the submittable platform before, but we probably still, I wanted to know just what you all think might be helpful in terms of, you know, your recollection of using it last year, what kind of orientation we should do. Was it pretty user friendly? We definitely, what we'll do is we'll finish building the application. We'll send it to you all just as users, like you all, we'd want to ask you all to pretend later this week, ask you to pretend you're a vendor. It won't be open to the public yet. And you fill it out, see what your experience is, share your feedback about if something wasn't clear or you didn't know how to do that. But then also once the applications start coming in, once we get to the sort of the end of that period, we're going to authorize you all as, you know, administrators on the account, so you can, or panelists on the account, so that you can go in and see everybody that has applied, and then you score the applications right in the platform. And then it averages and does all of its magic. That makes that conversation, our selection conversation, easier, or pretty easy as we move into it. So curious, just any thoughts or recollections from last year, and anything you think would be helpful as we prepare to do that process of using Submittable. Yeah, go ahead, Monica. Did you have a comment, Monica?
Yeah, I think the last year process, which was much easier, much better, more simple to fill it out as you know, the ranking. It was very good. It was very clear, and the format was very easy to handle and very easy to mark. So I think you guys should keep it the same.
Great.
It was comparing with the other ones we did the first years, that it was, the other ones were more complicated, more difficult to match what we were reading and everything. Last year, I couldn't believe it. It was very quick. At least that was my experience with last year.
Yeah, it has sort of that side by side, like you're reading the application and you've got the score sheet right there. And then you're hopefully able to look at both of those at the same time. So it's a little less shuffling and all of that.
I agree with Monica that last year was really much better than before.
That's great. And I know that at least you, Manijeh, if not both of you, had previously preferred the printout, right? So you were, so, and I like that too. I like paper usually, but so I'm glad to know that it's still, even thinking you might prefer that it was still easy enough to use. I'll just flash up on the screen what it looks like. Again, just to remind you all, these are some of the applications from last year. This is what it looks like as I think when you go into score. So you'll see, you know, somebody's application and you can click into it. And the score, the review piece is over here on the right side. So you have your different, you know, questions that you get to answer. And then you have their application, you can scroll side by side. So we'll have a very similar application, but obviously there'll be some more things based on it being in person. And I don't know that we did much of an orientation at all with you all last year. I think we probably just opened it up like this and said good luck. So maybe we at least give you a little chance to look at it and then let us know if we need to walk through like a tutorial on it or something. Okay, well, if there aren't other notes about that, then I just wanted to tell you all that, so the timeline is we're gonna have the application open from April 15th. Here, I'll put this in the chat too. Application open from April 15th through June 1st. And then what we'd like to do is have, so let me know what you think about this, but is have you review from June. I mean, we could let you get in there a little earlier if you want, but generally like from, you know, from when that's closed to a day before we do the selection, so that we just have at least a day ourselves until the meeting to kind of sort through and see if there's, you know, some extra categorization or something that we want to be able to do as we're talking through the selection discussion. So it is kind of a, so I can't remember how, I think we waited until it was closed last year. I don't know how rushed that felt, or if it felt like that feels like it's going to be enough time for you all to do that, or any additional notes there.
That's what I was going to ask you. Did we wait last year until closing time? I think so, but I think didn't we do a little earlier the closing time last year?
We may have. I mean, I think you could maybe get in and look at the ones that are already completed if you'd like more time. A lot of people submit right at the end, but not everybody does. So if it would be helpful.
Maybe because we had a July, last year was different because it was virtual. The year before,
or less.
I think it was because we have July twice, you know, July and August. So we had to do it a little earlier. This time we do in August. So yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I think it's better to wait until you close time for us to start reviewing it and then doing the selection.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
So maybe just also note on your note for your calendars also that will be that will be kind of a busy time. And if there's a way for you to set aside some hour, you need to do that to set aside some extra hours on your calendar, that's a busier time. Maybe lots of applications. Yeah, go ahead, Ahmed.
Alexis, can I ask a question? So the vendor, if he submits his application, he will be able to, like when he submitted, that will be final till the close day, or he can edit it till the close day. Because if we have people, they already start to, like, after we will open the gate, let's say it in that way, if they start to submit their applications, we can start with those. If we're not, and we will wait till the close day. Maybe some people. So we will not have maybe like 130 or like at least 30 people or 30 applications in the end or the closing day. So if he, I think if it will not be editable, we can start when they start to submit.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is an option to, I'll have to check back at that. I know there is an option to start an application and not finish it and hit submit until a little bit later. Like if you want to work on it one day and then you want to finish it the next day, but we wouldn't see it as they wouldn't have hit the submit button. So we could see which ones were done or not. There occasionally last year there was a time when one or two people said, oh, I hit the submit button, but actually like something wasn't, or I think actually it might've been us saying like, you really didn't answer question 6. Can you go back in and put a little more detail? I think you'd do better in the process if you go put a little more detail. So we've sort of unlocked it for them to do that. So that's a good point. Maybe we just at least do like kind of a quick review of those. And I think Jody does that anyways, but just having an eye on, does this look like we need to, there's time and we want to send it back to them for more details, or is it really good to go? But I guess one question is, would you do them earlier? Would you score them earlier if you had them earlier?
Should we,
Yes.
can we score them as soon as you have them? Or, I mean, it makes sense to me to do it when they're done totally. So we have the package and we start working on it, and then we don't have to go back and do it again or something up. You know what I mean? Like going back and forth. That's why I think it's better to wait and do it until the end when everything is done. I think that's a good choice. But I don't know, whatever it comes easy or Jody thinks is better, you know, we all are the disposition for that. But just because you asked the suggestion, that's what I'm thinking, that we should wait until it's done totally. Because I know you and Jody, you guys go back, you constantly reviewing the applications soon as you get it. So if you see something missing or she says something missing, they can send it back or whatever. So I don't know.
Shara, were you going to add something there?
Yeah, Alexis. So if the application, so last year it was about 54, something around that. It was not very hard for us to do, but if this year, let's just look maybe couple weeks, 3 weeks. If we got more application, let's say instead just having 1 week, just to go through all application, having the second week before closing. But if there is not much vendor, so we can do just a last week. And I have just one thing to mention, Alexis. Last year, some of the vendors, they have a pretty good staff, but they were not putting up pictures. So it was like optional picture for them. Some of them, they didn't submit any picture, but picture is talking more. I can understand more about their work than they just writing down some sentences. So if this year we can just ask them to be a require to add some pictures or a short video, it's going to be helpful for us too.
Thank you. Yeah, really, really good points. I think you're right. We should very much emphasize, if not require, that they put something on there, because they might not realize how important that is. And yeah, I think that's a good point too, Shara. We can put kind of put a check in on our calendars for 2 or 3 weeks before, and if it looks like it's gonna be a year where we get 150 applications, then we sort of give you all a chance to have a little more time to start on them. And if not, then great. Wait till the end for the most part. So that's perfect. Those are great suggestions. Thank you. Okay, so if there are any more comments about that, next topic was to just talk a little bit about the marketing. And I'll just say we usually think of this first phase as marketing to vendors, or at least for us to outreach to the people that we know and to past vendors and all of that, to get the word out about that. And then sort of as the applications are closing, then we switch to just trying to promote the event. And that's going to look different this year for sure, because we're going to be asking people to get tickets as opposed to just come on that day. So we've been talking a little bit, about how our messaging needs to shift. Like, we do want just general awareness about the event, but we want the messaging to help get people there successfully, not help people be like, know about it, but then be like, oh darn, I wish I would have, I can't be there with them, or because I didn't understand the process, or I couldn't get access to the tickets. So I think there's some considerations there, but generally I just have a sort of a mock flyer to show you all, and looks very similar to other years, but it's a place to start and get some feedback from you all about what you think and what you would like things to look like this year. Sorry, let me move this out of the way. So it doesn't yet emphasize some of those pieces, and we'll need to incorporate that, right, in terms of get your tickets here. But if you have any feedback or things you'd like to see in the look and feel of the marketing this year.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do the pictures of the people who is in the flyer, are they the same they've been before?
No, they're different every time. So these are
Yes.
folks from
Good.
the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I want to make sure. I know that the one with the drummers are different. The one in the middle is different. But the one that they said, that's what I thought I saw before. And I was trying to scroll down, but it's not mine.
Well, that's the whole image for now. For that. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. That's good. I like that you switch, you change, you put different faces and different things. That's really good. Yeah. It looks good. So this could be the first flyers. We want to be able to use it as a propaganda.
So we'll be creating a couple different, we're planning on creating all the pieces that we created back when we had in-person markets. So first we'll have a little outreach card for vendors, which actually doesn't look quite like this, but this is a sort of, there's a piece of it on this one side that looks, that says the night market and when it is and all that. And then most of the text is, please apply to be a vendor, and don't worry, you don't have to have an established business, all that stuff. And then we'll have the promotional materials, which are usually that card for the event itself and a poster, big size poster. And then there's also just a bunch of graphics. Like this is sized to be like a social media kind of a, electronic graphic.
When are we going to be able, when will be a good time to start? If I have a place to go and talk about it, the Beaverton night market coming, when will be that time? I don't want to go ahead of time or without letting you know. So when do you think we can start doing that?
I think that as soon as we finalize the location and dates and times. So I would say hopefully a week from today, if not, you know, a little bit longer than that. We'll see what we do about the times of day, because I think we still have to work that out with you all too about ticketing and how long and all that. But as soon as we finalize location and dates, we'll get that up on the website, and then I think, you know, totally fair game
Okay.
to.
Okay.
Other thoughts about the look and feel? Does it generally feel good to be, I mean, repeating the look mostly, and any desires about what it looks like this year? A couple of the notes that we have is we'll have to, you know, definitely emphasize that there's a new location, emphasize the tickets, and emphasize that the COVID protocols are in place. So those pieces aren't incorporated here yet, but those are 3 notes that we have.
You mentioned the COVID. I was last week. Last time I was forgot to ask. Are we going to have stations with the sanitizing pumps and all of that? And also, I was thinking the vendors should be providing with bottles too, you know, if they want to keep it sanitizing next to whatever the places they have. And the main ones when they go in or out, that will be you know, those big pumps that they have. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, we will have to have a pretty detailed plan about all of that for the special events permit and all of that. But yes, those are good points. We'll have to have definitely sanitation and definitely masks and all of that. So.
And luckily we will be probably majority of the people will be vaccinated at that time. So that's another plus. Yeah.
Sure hope so, yeah. The other things, okay, I'm seeing thumbs up. I'm gonna stop sharing on this. The other thing I wanted to share is just some of the initial, in the chat, some of the initial bigger kind of advertising pieces that will happen, that we do, you know, pretty much every year, but good for you all to know. So there'll be the TriMet bus ad. We'll have, you know, ads in the Beaverton Valley Times and in some other newspapers like the Scanner, the Asian Reporter, thinking about doing some Spanish language radio and TV pieces and social media, and we'll definitely do a press release. So those are some of the big pieces. There are also, of course, the most important things, which are, you know, your channels and our kind of community channels and everybody that's participated in the night market in the past and all of that. Yes, and the things that you all do, like the KBOO Persian Hour, which are awesome contributions. Yeah, the list is much longer when we count all the things we all do, right? These are some things that the marketing team sent me so that you all know that some of these big pieces are happening, but yeah. And I am curious if you all have ideas right now about outreach to vendors and in what ways you all could help, or we could ask the DAB to help with that. So one thing is the event outreach, right? But another thing is how do we in this first phase, reach out to potential vendors? Yeah, Janice, if you have a connection to suggesting the Portland Italian Club, I do not have a connection there. I didn't know about the Portland Italian Club. That's great. We would love the help to reach out.
You guys are going to reach out to the vendors with the list you had before?
Definitely past vendors.
Yeah.
Or people who've expressed interest in the past that didn't make it but might want to this year.
Okay. I'm thinking about it, but I think I have exhausted my sources to so, but you can still use from the last year. I don't know. So, but we'll try something.
Yeah.
Can we promote the looking for vendors? When can we start promoting looking for vendors? Because that's something we can do with the KBOO too. promoting for vendors. When do
Yeah.
you want to start that?
Well, the application will go live on April 15th.
Oh, okay. So, okay.
So it'll be up on the website. So as of then, we want to go as far and wide as we can so people are,
So
start.
after
thinking online.
April 15, we can start promoting for vendors. Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Do you all have a use for printed cards, vendor outreach cards? Like you have in the past? What do you think about that? Or not as much? Is it going to be more electronic? Yes. We'll make sure to get some of those then and get some printed for those of you who are out and about and can drop them off or whatever. Hi, Rehana.
Hi, sorry I joined late. Just got tied up with a few other things, but I'm back on track.
That's great. That's all right. We're just talking about draft marketing materials and ideas on outreach to potential vendors. So we're opening applications April 15th through June 1st. And we'll have all the information up on the website and the application up on the website by then. So, so coming up soon. So any ideas from the committee or any ways that we can support you all in that outreach is what we were sharing right now.
So is it going to be similar to last year's application process?
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
so we'll use Submittable and I'll send you all a test later this week. I'll send you all as committee members sort of a test application so you can get in and see that and know what questions people are being asked.
Oh, I was just saying, I was muted. I was just saying, hi, Rehana. Thanks for joining us. And I love your background.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I like your new hairstyle, Manijeh.
Thank you.
So if we print so we'll definitely get some graphics together so you all can share through your social media channels or other newsletters or associations or clubs or anything that you're connected to. And it sounds like Manijeh could use some printed vendor recruitment cards for this first phase. Are there other folks that can as well, or should I just coordinate with her on that? Okay. Manijeh, we will coordinate on that. And I think what might make a lot of sense too is just us thinking about at the end of this meeting, reporting out to the full board and making the ask also in terms of vendor recruitment and seeing if there are other people that can help with that and what ideas people have to help with that and what any materials you might need. Because I think we will have an audience. There will be people that apply, right? We're sure of that. But there's always a desire, right, to get to people that we haven't gotten to before, or encourage people so that we have that maximum representation possible.
Are we looking at a certain split between food vendors and other items? Or is it going to be like what sort of split is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. We haven't yet talked about that. I would say in the past, so this year Jody was thinking that she was going to propose somewhere around 30 vendors on site. And so in the past, when we've had in-person markets, we have had not half of the vendors, but more than a good percentage, a third or more of the vendors were food. So I think that's probably might look a little different this year, but that's what it's been in the past. So certainly we want food to be a big component, particularly if we create a whole food court area, right? And Janice, you're asking how many attendees are we expecting? So in the past, when it's just been an open, free event outside with as much capacity as people who want to be there. We've had up to 7,000 or 8,000 people per market. This year we can't do that because we're going to have COVID restrictions in place, and so we're going to have a ticketed process where we have a certain number of people who are allowed in, for a certain amount of time. We still haven't determined exactly how much time that, whether that's an hour and a half, 2 hours, but we'll probably have somewhere around 300 or 400 people in each one of those waves. So yeah, so capacity will be less, but a few thousand or something like that for the weekend.
So 300 every 2 hours, let's say hour and a half, 2 hours. So if we are going to do 5 to 10, so we calculate around 1,000 people per day, maybe.
I think that's what those initial calculations that Jody did looked like. I think it's an interesting mix. Like if we choose the on the city streets versus the square parking lot, that changes it a little bit too. But yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what we're thinking we're going to have capacity for.
It will be quite an experience for us. It will be quite an experience for the public. It will be a totally different, but it's going to be very interesting, and I'm sure people is ready for it. It might be a little difficult to make them understand that we cannot have more than that, because probably everybody wants to come because we've been cooped out in the homes doing nothing, So, but it will be a very good experience. I think it's going to be very exciting for probably next year, the year after this year, going back to the normal week up. So I think it's good. I think it's really good.
Well, and we plan for the worst and hope for the best, right? So it's possible also that regulations will loosen up even more, and we'll be able to increase that capacity in that space by August. But we plan for the sort of risk phase that we're in right now, and then hope it expands.
Yeah.
Were you going to add something else, Rehana?
Oh, no, I wasn't. Sorry, my phone's a bit acting weird today.
That's fine. Okay, well, so I guess the last thing I had on my list was just kind of other logistics and planning items. I thought we might want to aside from sort of talking about outreach ideas, I thought we might want to return to the idea, or to return to the conversation around how this ticketing piece would work, and access, making sure that we're offering access, or at least not creating as many unintentional barriers for folks who are, want to attend the market, want to experience that. So I think we have a couple different questions. I mean, I'm curious what other thoughts you all have had as you're starting to imagine this happening this summer in general, but then also, as you're thinking about that, I think we have the question around how much time do we allow people to come in for? And we also have this question around, okay, well, we're probably going to use a platform like Eventbrite or something like that to host the tickets. So how do we build in some other things to make sure that it's accessible?
Okay, this is something I've been thinking about. So I'm thinking when we started, the first group goes in hour and a half, let's say hour and a half. So my thinking was, is there any way like to announce saying blue tickets, your time is almost over, the market is going to be shut down for 15 minutes. Shut down means, letting everybody get out and the next tickets coming in. So I thought that might give us a little more organization. People be ready to leave when it's the time for them to leave. And the other people start maybe lining up, if whoever is around and having the tickets, because we probably would have color code, like different colors. So I think announcing and telling we shut down for 15 minutes and then people start, smoothly coming back. And the tickets or the bracelets, maybe perhaps we should have the kiosk where they're going to go and get the tickets because you mentioned that they can be thinking about picking up at the library too. So I thought, oh, maybe we have a table where we're going to start handing 15 minutes before for the people to come in the next group. That will be another choice. I don't know how it's going to work with the library. I don't know if people is going to be attentive to the colors or trying, you know, so that's what my head has been working on it. How can we do this? And I thought, you know, that was the process I had in my head to work it out. So that's it.
So sort of like you start the check-in process.
Yes.
15 minutes before, so people can get their bracelets or whatever it is, and we're not wasting that time.
And then, because it will be kind of chaotic, you know, like trying to make people leave and the new people coming in. So we have to have somehow a way to stop and start. It's just like, I can remember where were we in one of my vacations that we had to do that. I can remember I had to ask my son, where were we? That we have allowed to go in, and then you gotta be ready for your time, and they announce it. And that's how I came out. I go, oh, we can announce that. And you know, everybody gets ready.
I like
that was my 5 cents of that.
Thank you. Hiral.
Yeah, are we going to have controlled entry and exit points?
Yeah.
So can't we do the similar what any other big stores were doing in the peak time? Like Home Depot, they had some kind of counting method at the entrance and exit, and they will stop when there are like sufficient customers inside the store. And once like 5 goes out, we can send one family in, like something like that.
You mean instead of tickets?
I mean, tickets. I mean, if we are doing that, we might not need tickets. But I mean, the stores, they were controlling very well because they had the fixed exit and entry points, and that will also take care of different people, right? Because not every person will spend the same amount of time. By the time of first group's exit, there might be just 25% of the people roaming in the market for last 15 minutes.
So I think we definitely will have controlled entry and exit. I think what we're thinking is we'll have one entrance and multiple exits so that people don't have to walk back to the one street. But that doesn't mean that what you're saying is impossible. I mean, I think because we've had such a high attendance in the past, we would like to see, or we're thinking that tickets are a good way to manage that so that like 1,000 people aren't standing outside waiting to get in, and but I think there's something to what you're saying in that, you know, maybe that's how we deal with walk-ups also, right? Like maybe if there are people that want to get in but don't have a ticket on the day of, and we're keeping track of people that are inside and people leave, no sense in, I mean, there's no reason why we have to just only wait for the next wave, right? We could maybe also adapt in that moment and let more people in because some people have left.
Yeah, I mean,
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could see that. I like that.
I actually think that's a good idea to do it that way, because you know, all we need is one of those counting clocks, and so as soon as people leave, we let that same amount of people in. That's what's been happening in the stores, and that's the current practice, I think, everywhere.
Yeah, so people are used to that to some extent.
But in the stores, oh, sorry. The stores, there's contrite, you know, that is a closed place that you can control that. And the market will be a very difficult just to be counting without the ticket or bracelets. I don't think it will work because it's kind of open place. The stores are different because they're closed, you know, they're 4 walls, so they can see who is there and all of that. So
that, I mean, that brings up another question, which is that we will have to do some sort of barriers or fencing in order to control this. Otherwise, we just can't control the space, right? And the COVID guidelines, the state guidelines say we have to be able to control how many people are inside the space. So we can't just be open flow all over the place. It's got to be controlled entrance and exit to some extent.
Yeah, and we'll probably have to have like a walkie-talkie system where the person at the exit tells the person at the entrance, okay, one out, another one in, something like that.
Alexis, based on my small experience with my event, you said that about 150 people were coming through the entrance, but let me tell you that most of my volunteers, they come just right away inside the tent without coming through the entrance. And some other people, when they know me, they were just coming directly to me without coming to the entrance. So we have to have a real fence, something around to not let people just come from any area.
We noticed that too. In our debrief, we talked a little bit
Sorry.
about that. That's okay. This is how we're learning, right? This is how we're learning. Yeah. Because we also don't want people to feel, we don't want to feel like we're putting people in a cage, right? But we're going to have to figure out some balance there because we can't let people just flow in and out.
Mm-hmm.
See, the beauty of the night market, the beauty of the market, street markets are, the beauty of the street markets are the freedom to walk around. That's what we want, even that we are in some special time now. That's exactly what we want. We want them to keep it like that. And I'm thinking, I don't know how it's going to feel if we have to put too much fencing or barriers. I don't know. So, but yeah, it is necessary. It will be necessary, the limitations of areas, but not too much. I don't want to lose the meaning, the flavor of the night market.
We're going to have to be thoughtful about that. And it is something that, we're going to want to consult with you all on.
Yeah.
Because that's that look and feel, right? That's really important. And the events team the staff is looking into some of those pieces right now, like sort of what are the options of what we can rent. And also what are some apps, for example, that we can use to do, so somebody, an app that we could coordinate on, so somebody at an exit can be pushing a button without having to like walkie-talkie everyone, and so trying to iron out some of those logistical pieces to be able to count in an effective way.
Yeah.
Especially if there's 300 people there at the same time or 400 people, right? We have to be able to count.
The bracelets will be one of the ways to be counting how many people to. Yep. Yeah.
Well, the bracelets, I think, would be the way we would see that people that were in the market were in there at the right time and they had actually left when they were supposed to leave and all of that, right?
Yep.
And that they were somebody with a ticket or that had gotten let in because we had space.
Hey, what about at the end when the things start dying down, like less people at the end of the last hours or whatever, and then you can have walk-ups too if there is people around at that time that we're going to be, kind of down. Maybe you can create the walks down for people who were unable to get in anytime. So, I guess it will be possible for walks up too.
What do you all think about helping people get the tickets or communicating about getting the tickets in an effective way for people who are, what concerns do you have or what ideas do you have about making sure that if somebody isn't a regular user of Eventbrite or whatever, however you want to, or even of those types of sites, right? How are we gonna try to make sure that access to tickets is spread around or equitable?
I gave you my 5 cents. It has to be a table.
You did on the day of, right? But I think what we were talking about is on the day of. I'm talking about like in the lead up when we're doing all this promotion to try to get people to get tickets ahead of the event. How do we do it?
Okay. I don't know if I like the idea of getting ahead of the event. I don't know if I do like that. It might be necessary, probably. For me, it's more like if we start at 5, you can start coming lining up at 4 o'clock, so you can get the 5 group or some. I don't know. Maybe it will be too much, perhaps, and maybe you need to set up ahead of time. But in my personal opinion, I don't see that. How maybe the library, you say that there might be a possibility to pick it up at the library. So
for example, you all did, I mean, you used to do outreach at the farmer's market, right? Or at the, you know, in other places ahead of the event. So maybe there are ways that you can get a ticket without being on the internet ahead of time. I think you're right. I think we do need to make a way for people to walk up, but what I don't want is 1,000 people standing in line at the registration table, mad because they can't get in the event and mad because they don't know how to get there and stuff, you know? So I think we have to try to direct as many people as we can to be able to, that want to attend in advance to a ticket, and then plan for people that aren't going to do it that way too.
And we gotta think about that. It's not that many. It will be like 300 per hour, an hour and a half. So it's not that many that we're going to be handing out. It's not like everybody is going to get at the same time. So if you have like an hour before the time, like at 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock, they can come and start getting their bracelets, or 4:30, I don't know. It's not, the thing is that not many people. We're not going to have thousands of people waiting because it's limited at time every space. So I don't know how it's going to work that part. For me, it was more like getting right there before the hour. So that's how I see it. So I don't know about the library, maybe, I don't know.
Other thoughts about this piece around access and communicating how to get to the event?
I think maybe if we want to reach our respective communities, we can maybe sell the tickets in some of the grocery stores, the ethnic grocery stores. I know they get a lot of walk-in traffic, so maybe, you know, they can just pick up a bracelet or whatever from there, and then we can keep tabs of how many have been given out and then report back, because the whole point of pre-ticketing is planning for our purposes, right, and the vendors' purposes, so how much food they should make and how much stuff they should bring. So for that piece, I think it's important to pre-plan for tickets somewhat.
Yeah, that's a great idea. So I think, you know, if you all have ideas of, or if we could start compiling a list if there's some places, specific places that you have in mind that we should try to approach about giving out, being sites that give out tickets, either whether it's one of us sitting there or whether it's actually them being willing to give them out. But starting with a list of those places would be great.
So how about THPRD? Sorry, Monica.
THPRD, that's a
THPRD, because we have a lot of facilities around Washington County and most of them is open right now. Most classes is open for spring classes. I think it's a good place to have some ticket, but let me make it clear, is the ticket is free. We are not charging people to get in ticket, right?
Correct.
Oh, great. So I can help with this one.
That's a great suggestion.
How are we going to keep control of the amount of the tickets that we're giving away? How are you going to control? It's only 300. You cannot give it that many. It's not like it's open and you give tickets and everybody can get it. We have limited time, limited colors and everything. So we have to make sure that we don't send it more than what we can keep it. If we give it to stores or places like that, how are we going to keep it? People is going to think everybody can get one at the same time or whatever. So that will be a little confusing, a little difficult to handle, because it's the amount of people that is allowed to get in. That's my concern. The amount of people is getting in per hour. That's my concern. It's right. A good idea. It's a good idea, but that's the part that I want to know.
Right. So the idea right now is that we would use a site like Eventbrite. I don't know if you've ever gotten a ticket through Eventbrite, but you can set up. We did it. In fact, we did our sale of craft kits through Eventbrite last year. So you can actually set up, you know, tickets from a certain time for the event, and then you set it at a limit, right? So 300 for the 4 to 5 slot, and then that's as many tickets as, you know, are given out. Or we set it at 300 so we can give out 100 through these other channels separately, and we sort of pull that out of the pool and control that. Ahmed, you were going to add something?
I thought, like, I don't know, like maybe we can give some to the vendor they can give it to, you know, their customers when they have business. So and that's will give us like more people, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, more outreach. So, but for tracking numbers, like without, I think, sell it on website or hand it out through website or electronic things will be hard to tracking which hour and how many people.
I think what we can do usually with those sites is like give out a special code. You know how sometimes you'll have a promotional code or a coupon code or something? So you can actually set, you know, vendors, you know, B&M vendors as a code, and they know to give that out to their people. And then those folks go in and they can, those are set to a certain number of tickets and then they end up. So I think there's some great features in that platform, but I love that. Yeah. Asking, that's what we do for outreach, right? We ask vendors, performers, everybody to reach out to their networks. So that's a good pool to give some tickets to too. Great.
Also, I think in the marketing materials, we need to make it clear that it's one ticket per person, not one ticket per family, because there might be a misunderstanding there.
Yeah, I was actually just wondering about that, what you all think about that. That's gonna be hard, huh?
I am an old-fashioned person, so I like it the old-fashioned way. Coming and getting when you're coming in. I'm concerned that we're gonna be over the month with doing online or doing on special places. It's because it's the limitation of the number of people, you know? That's what it concerns me. And people could get mad saying, I did put it in the online, oh, I did get it, oh, I didn't get it. That will be difficult. So if we do at the entrance, that will be easier. If we do at the entrance, you come and get it at the entrance an hour before, blah, blah. So from 5 to 6:30, come at 4 o'clock, get your bracelet and say the same thing.
Not right now. Go out and close.
Sorry. So that's my concern. That's a little bit in my head. I cannot figure it out that except that we can do it on site. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, of course.
Go ahead, Hiral.
Yeah. Instead of muting, I stopped the video. Yeah, so I agree with Monica, because what if someone get the ticket online and didn't show up or came in 15 minutes late or 20 minutes late? So yeah, it's gonna be a bit confusing. I mean, if it's 4 to 5 time slot, but he came in at 4:30.
Yeah. And perhaps the 5 o'clock start, the 5 o'clock group can start coming, getting the bracelet at 4:30, because it's only going to be only 300, maybe a few of us, we're going to be there giving the bracelets, and then they can start going in, and then we're ready for the next, you know, like kind of scheduling our times too. So there you go. I'm easy because I don't like the online thing.
It's complicated, right? If we want to do maximum capacity at all times inside the market.
Okay, this is a 73-year-old lady, so she wants the old-fashioned way. Come and
Yeah,
get it.
yeah. Yeah, it's definitely that's why we're spending some time on this, because it is complicated, I think. And not everyone's going to get in and not everyone's going to be happy. So we also have to accept that. But I think what we want to do, especially in COVID, is increase predictability, right? So what I at least would, I think the idea of the tickets is also, we want to reduce the chance that you drive down there with your family and then you can't get in because, and you didn't, or you just didn't come because you didn't know what the situation was going to be like, and you didn't even know if you were going to be able to get in. And so as opposed to, like, you know, most places now, museums, other place, whatever, you get a ticket and then you know you're going to get there, and you know there's only going to be 60 people there or whatever that, you know. So I think we're trying to introduce some predictability, but also it's a different situation, right? And a different population that comes to this event.
Okay, so in that case, if you do the old-fashioned way, we can start giving the tickets at noon. So they know they got their ticket and come back. I don't know.
Or we could have some days that are ahead of time where people have to come and physically get their ticket, I suppose.
And then we are talking about 1 ticket per person. We're not talking about one, because one family can come with 10 people. But each person of the family is going to get a ticket, isn't it? Okay. So that's another thing too. It's not like single people, you know, like one person. No, they can be families like 4 or 5, and they will get 5 tickets because it's 1 ticket per person. So I think that my connection with this is the amount of people that's going to be allowed in each group. That's what it is. We got to make sure that we don't go over that, and they were not going to be allowed to let them in after we have as many people we can. That's right now. That's what's going on my head. You know, we don't want to do that. We're overselling or over giving away. That we don't want that.
So I've used Eventbrite before. It's pretty comprehensive because it gives you, it allows you to put in the number of people and the time slot. So if people have got, you know, something on their iPhone or phone when they come and show the time slot, so I think that's pretty comprehensive to me. I don't know. I thought that's the way it worked. So you would have a time slot, and you would have like, you know, a code, and you basically just need to show your time slot and how many people are in your party.
That is the advantage, is that it's got a lot of features like that. But there's some other creative things that we could do to pair that with some of these other ideas, I think, if we want. Okay, well, we're almost to 6:15, so I just wanted to thank you so much. I've been taking notes. I think a lot of really great ideas have come out of this. Just want to open up if there's any other ideas or thoughts that you've had, or dreams you've had about what you think it's going to be like this summer that you think we should know about as we're planning these first pieces of it. For example, about performances, or about the food area, or about, you know, how early or late it starts, things like that. Go ahead, Rehana.
I was going to say, I missed the first part of the meeting. So did we actually decide on a venue, the actual site?
So we still have not made a final decision. We're waiting for a little bit more feedback from some businesses in the area, and Jody to get back and to have a final conversation. But I shared that generally we've heard really positive feedback from people we've talked to, and we've heard some preference for a Friday-Saturday event. And when I look at the scores from you all ranking the sites last meeting, I see some preference for site 2, option 2. So kind of leaning in that direction, but gonna wrap up that process and make a decision later this week.
Okay, thanks.
What about the entertainer and all of that? Are you in the process of that right now, or you haven't looked at it yet?
We haven't looked at that yet. No, I think we need to finish locking down sort of what does the site map look like this year, because each of the different locations has a little different layout in terms of like which parking lots or what areas we could use. So locking that down, but I do think our conversation last time or the time before in this space around pairing the food court area and the performances, like putting those together, seems like a really great idea, and something that we want to try to prioritize. There's some COVID restrictions about how far and how much interaction and all of that, but I think we can do that, put those two together so that you're sort of exiting the market part and then you're in the area where you get to sit down and watch and eat and listen. But we haven't done anything about specific performers.
So the flexibility could be there because we don't know how much is going to change from now until August on the situation of numbers. This distance, I think I want to still keep, but it will be a little more opening perhaps by August, due to the vaccination and everything, it might be a little better for us to sit up and think about those things. So that's what I did. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me talk so much. But I've had so many things and I've been thinking about it since last time, you know. So I was thinking about the tickets and all of that. That's a major thing, how we're going to organize that part without irritating people, or we don't want bad comments out there.
Okay. It's a major thing. And if we potentially have an audience of, 10, 12, 14,000 people, right? Or maybe they're not always the different people, but we have an audience that big, we can't accommodate that many people, right? So there will be people that to come.
Yeah. From 7,000 every night to 1,000 is a big difference. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all very much. Definitely some really helpful pieces here tonight. And we have dates moving forward. So Rehana, we talked about dates for upcoming meetings. So I'll just, for everyone's sake, review those, or I'll post those in the chat again. So our next meeting would be on May 3rd. Is there somebody from this group actually tonight that would be willing to help give a report back to the big group next Monday, to the rest of the DAB next Monday?
We just can throw pieces, each of us, whatever somebody meets. Somebody forgets something, you can start it, and then we can just feed it, whatever you missed there.
Sure.
How about that?
We can do it that way. Yeah.
All of us intervene in informing them. So that, I don't know. It's kind of nice when everybody is allowed to share what they see and what they hear. So
yeah. Okay. Well, that's fine. We can start it off and just kind of give some overall things, and then you all can add in. And I would just ask, can you please do some peer pressuring of the other people on the board to help with the outreach pieces? Because I think it's helpful for me to say it, but it's even more helpful for you all. We need your help. Great. All right, well, that's all we have for tonight. So thanks everybody for coming. Thanks to our guests for your interest and for being with us, and the ideas that you all have too about how to get the word out. So more to come.
Okay, thank you. See you on Monday.
Bye-bye. See you DAB members on Monday.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. See you.
Bye, guys. Bye.